Hello, everybody. We're going to get started in another minute or two. I'm just going to see and let more people join, and then we'll get started with our information session. But great to have everybody. I'll be sharing a PowerPoint presentation during this that I will send out to everybody probably tomorrow morning. And additionally, you'll be able to ask and participate in a Q&A as well. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar today, please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A feature. We will not have raising hands, but if you have questions, drop them in the Q&A. And I hope today is really informative so you're able to participate in this award program for the upcoming summer. But we'll get started in another minute or two. Just going to see if more people will join, and then we'll get started. And if you can't see my screen, just please let me know. Okay, so we are going to get started. Hi, everybody. My name is Jessica Ronan Frisch, and I currently serve as the Associate Director of the Center for Youth Political Participation. I'm here today to do a virtual information session about the Rutgers-Eagleton Washington Internship Award Program. So I'm going to really walk you through some information about the award program for the upcoming summer, provide some tips and answer any questions that you may have. And then also we're going to have a Q&A with a past awardee from this past summer who's going to share a little bit more personal information about how it was applying for the award program, the benefits of it, and how it relates to their professional and personal growth. I'm going to really go through this pretty carefully. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it into the Q&A feature, as well as there's the link to the application, which I'll drop in the chat as well for everyone to see. But just to kind of get started, I want to walk through first a little bit of background information about the award program. So the Rutgers-Eagleton Washington Internship Award Program was created back in 2016, thanks to actually a donor that was really interested in supporting students, especially Rutgers students, to go to Washington, D.C. and complete a summer internship. This particular donor was somebody who benefited from a D.C. internship while they were a student at Rutgers many years ago. However, the internship was unpaid. So they actually had to commute many hours to be able to get to their internship every single day during the summer. So this was an opportunity for them to allow more Rutgers students to actually go to DC and complete unpaid summer internships. As I said, we had our first cohort of 8 students back in 2016, and they were undergraduates representing Rutgers Newark, Rutgers New Brunswick, and Camden. And everybody was originally given $5,000 to support living expenses because, as I said, many DC internships at this time were often unpaid. And this was an opportunity to allow more students to go to DC and to get the professional experience that comes from a DC internship. So a little bit about the award program for summer 2025. So we will be awarding through the Rutgers-Eagleton Washington Internship Award Program. 8 recipients will receive up to $6,000 to complete an unpaid or paid internship at a government or nonprofit or advocacy organization over the summer. This can be utilized to support any financial needs that you may have while completing your internship. As I mentioned, it's going to be to support unpaid and or paid internships. So paid interns will receive up to $4,500 for the summer as well. One student from this pool of 8 will be a recipient of the Newberger Award, and that supports women's political leadership through the Center for American Women in Politics. So in total, we'll have 8 students. 7 of them will be supported through the Rutgers-Eagleton Award program, and then one particular student will be chosen based on their interest of women's political leadership, and that'll be supported through the Center for American Women in Politics. This award program is open to all class years, including graduating seniors and incoming first-year students. All majors, so not just political science students. It could be somebody who's in a STEM background. It could be somebody, a theater major, a engineering major, business major, and all campus locations. So this is open to students on the New Brunswick, the Newark, and the Camden campus. One of the main benefits of the program as well is networking opportunities in DC over the summer. This is something that we're really going to be integrating for the upcoming summer, and I'll get to that in a moment about just ways that you're going to be able to network through this award program specifically. So a little bit of additional information about the award program. Compared to the RSSI and RSSDC programs that are also going to be working during the upcoming summer, this award program does not include housing for the summer. All awardees are responsible for finding and identifying their own housing for the upcoming summer. However, the benefit of that is you can choose where you want to live. And you're also able to make adjustments to your living expenses. So if you have a $6,000 award and you find housing that's $3,000, you'll have the $3,000 that you're not spending on housing. But as I mentioned, we do not provide housing for the upcoming summer. Recipients are also responsible for securing their own internship for the summer. But if you are struggling to secure an internship, the Eagleton Institute staff, specifically myself and a team of others, will be able to support you to get an internship during the upcoming summer. We've placed many students over the years, and we've never had a student not get an internship for the summer. So it's not really a concern, but we do require all awardees to find their own internship unless they need support. And additionally, you would need to complete 2 journal entries throughout the summer, one at the outset of your internship to really talk about what are your hopes, what do you imagine the internship's going to be, and what do you hope to learn, and then a reflection entry at the end of the summer. That really kind of talks about like, what did you learn and what was it like interning in DC over the summer? So a little bit about program benefits. So it's a really flexible program. So we have no time limits and no class requirements for this program. Students can go to DC if they would like, right after classes end on May 15th and work until the entire summer ends. So they can go from May 15th all the way to August 30th if they'd like. Or they can do the whole internship within a month. As long as they meet the hours requirement of 150 hours during the summer, they fulfill the requirements of the program. So we do not put a cap on how many hours or weeks you can do at an internship site. It's really up to you. Additionally, we do not have a class requirement. So students are able to actually earn credit for their internships if they'd like through their different departments. But we do not have a class that you have to participate in weekly. A lot of students like that. They may not want to take summer classes. They may just want to focus on their internship. So that's a nice benefit of the program. As I mentioned, it's open to all class years, including first years and graduating seniors. If you are a graduating senior who's applying for this award, you would have to be doing an internship during the summer and planning to begin working full-time starting in the fall. So we cannot be supporting students that are going to be in a full-time working position. That's the only consequence of that. But it's great for some first-year students who may want to go to DC and are maybe interested in doing a little bit of work during the summer. As I mentioned, there's some networking opportunities in DC. So first, we always start off the summer with a welcome breakfast at Eagleton. So we bring our entire cohort to Eagleton to meet members of the selection committee and faculty and staff to get them prepared for their summer work. There's also a July networking reception on Capitol Hill, and this is in partnership with all other Rutgers DC based programs. It's a really nice opportunity to meet some people who are either Rutgers alums living in DC and working in DC, Rutgers alums who are in the Capitol. And so that's another great networking opportunity that we provide for our students. And then we're also going to be doing and changing it this year for this upcoming summer. We'll be having an August closing reception also in Washington, D.C. This is different than in past years where we've brought students back to Eagleton during September and October. we've decided to change it for next summer and have more opportunities for students to gather while they're doing their internship. So that's another nice benefit that we're going to be adding. A little bit about what the award can be used for. It can be used for anything that needs to be happening and any living expenses while you're completing your internship. So some things that it could be used for is transportation costs. So we know that the metro is very, very expensive. You can use your cohort money, your money towards that. If you need to pay for parking while you're doing your internship, that's another thing you can use it for. You can use it for food. So making sure you have enough food to eat during the week while you're there in DC living. Clothes for your internship. So a lot of office settings may require a certain type of dress code. You can use your award money towards that. Rent and other living expenses that you may need to complete your internship successfully. And then lastly, you can earn course credit for your internship. Or if you're a part of a program that requires an internship, we can help you actually count this towards that program requirement. So specifically the undergraduate associates program, if you're a member of that cohort, we will help fill out the paperwork that you can list this as your internship requirement. So if you're looking to earn course credit, you can get the award and then also earn credit for summer as well. And as I mentioned, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it into the Q&A feature. Okay. So now I'm going to walk through a little bit about what counts as an appropriate internship for the summer. Because as I mentioned, we are supporting students that are doing government, nonprofit, or advocacy organizations during the summer. So what we count as an in-person internship and what would meet the program requirements is an in-person internship must be in person at least 3 days a week in Washington, D.C. When I say Washington, D.C., I mean like the Washington, D.C. greater D.C. network area as well. So that could be in Arlington, Virginia, if you're working at the Pentagon. It can be in Alexandria, other areas, but it has to be in the DC area specifically. It also has to be at least 3 days a week in person. I know a lot of internships are now hybrid, but we really want to be supporting students who are going to be in person in an office setting, talking to colleagues and also engaging in conversation and learning what it's like to be in a professional setting. That you just can't replicate in a completely virtual internship. If part of the internship is virtual, that's fine, but we really are looking for students to do it mostly in person. And it also has to be at a registered nonprofit organization, government office or agency or advocacy organization. So this could be, for example, the Democratic Women's Caucus. This could be at the Republican National Committee if you want to be there. It could be in a Capitol Hill office working for your congressman or congresswoman, or it could be just at a nonprofit that's in the DC based area. All placement sites, though, have to be approved by the award program administrator. And they have to meet the mission and their mission statements have to align with the core values of the Eagleton Institute of Politics. So I'll be reviewing all internships that people are going to be submitting and making sure that they meet our mission as well. But the best part is it does not have to be a nonpartisan organization. So if you want to work for, the National Democratic Party or the National Republican Party, you're more than welcome to do that as well. We're just looking for students to get high quality, engaging opportunities where they can be involved in politics. Okay. So now I'm going to go in a little bit into the application materials, and then I have some frequently asked questions that we usually get about the application. So in order to have a complete application packet, we need a few things from you. First, we need a completed online application. That's just the application form that you complete online on the CYPP website. We need a copy of your resume as a PDF. One thing I would recommend if you're applying for the award program is having somebody look through your resume before submitting it, just to make sure that you have no spelling issues. All of your information is accurate and up to date. So if you have either a faculty member, a staff member, a family friend, somebody that can look through your resume, I really encourage you to do that. We really do look at the resumes pretty closely, and we want to make sure that we're choosing students that are detail oriented. So I know when I'm typing out my resume, sometimes I miss errors. Having somebody else look at it can be a really good benefit for you. We're also looking for a rating statement. And this writing statement, we want to hear about why you want to go to DC. How is a DC internship going to impact you long term? How is it going to impact your professional growth, your personal growth? why going to this organization, or why is your passion there, and why does it have to be in DC? So we want to hear about that in a one-page writing sample as a PDF as well. And another thing, like feel free to have like faculty, staff members, somebody read through your written statement as well, because we really look at those closely. We need one letter of recommendation. So the letter of recommendation should be from a faculty member, a staff, or somebody who can attest to your professional skills. They can kind of, tell the selection committee, like, why is this person going to be the best representative for this award program? Because we only choose 8 students, so it's pretty competitive. We also need unofficial transcripts, including your fall 2024 and spring 2025 enrollment. And if you were a student at another institution, so if you're a transfer student, we would also need to have the additional transcripts as well. Deadline to apply is Friday, February 7th at 5 p.m. We do not accept late applications. So if it is 6 o'clock and we get your application, it most likely will not be reviewed. If you have any questions as well, feel free to drop it in the Q&A. Okay. Okay, so here's some commonly asked questions that we usually get about the award program. I kind of went into this a little bit, but number one, this is often when we get is, who should write my letter of recommendation? So letters of recommendation should come from somebody who can attest to your personal and professional skills and qualities that make you a qualified applicant. I usually recommend either a professor that you've had for at least a year and you've spoken to closely, or a supervisor that you have and you've worked with for at least 6 months to a year. That way they're able to really see and describe to the selection committee, like, why is this person the best representative for this award and how is it going to benefit them? So really think carefully about who you want to write this letter for you. One thing I will say is make sure that you follow up with your recommenders, because they will be submitting their letters to the selection committee, specifically me. I always feel bad when there's students that ask for letters of recommendation and then they don't get submitted. And as I mentioned, as you'll see in this frequently asked question, what happens if you don't have a letter of recommendation? Will this impact your chances of being considered? It may. Oftentimes with the selection committee, we look at all of the application material. So really being careful and making sure that you're choosing people to who are actually going to write the award for you, who are actually going to write the letter for you, making sure you're following up with them and they get it to us on time. What should I include in my writing sample? As I mentioned, really attesting to why going to DC is going to be a professional and personal growth opportunity for you. We want to hear like that passion. I know often students will write about, well, I want to go to network. How is DC networking any different than New Jersey networking? How is that going to help you grow professionally and help you give back to this program eventually? So that's kind of a thing that we really want to hear in your writing samples. How do I find my unofficial transcripts? This is another question we often get. So if you just type in on Google Rutgers transcripts, you should be able to download an unofficial copy of your transcripts. For the transcripts as well, oftentimes if you get the official copy, you'll have to pay, but you should not have to pay for unofficial transcripts. Do I need to complete a FAFSA? So we look at a lot of different requirements and parameters when we're reviewing applications. We do ask for a FAFSA for this because financial need is a consideration for the award program. So if you can submit a FAFSA, it's probably good to do so for this, so we can get a sense of what is the need of one candidate to another, what is their extracurriculars. So I encourage all people, if they're able to complete a FAFSA, that they can. I also know that there's some people who cannot complete FAFSAs. So it's not a requirement. It's helpful if we have it, but it's not a requirement of the program. And then lastly, do I need to have an internship in time at the place? Do I need to have an internship in place at the time of applying? No, you do not have an intern. You do not need to have an internship secured at the time of applying. However, I encourage anybody who's even considering going to DC, even now, to just apply. These DC internships have gotten more and more competitive, especially post-COVID. So even if you're just thinking about it, just send in an application. And then if you get the award program, you may be able to say, hey, I already have an internship that may help you get an award. So encourage everybody, even if you're just thinking about going to DC, throw in an application if you can, especially over winter break, because many of the larger scale internship programs, their applications may close in January. So be mindful of any deadlines. If you really want to do, for example, like a lot of committee assignments or committee internships, Senate internships, those close really early for summer. So just make sure that you are looking out for applications because they may be earlier than you think. They may be before this award program closes its applications. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now we're actually going to do a brief Q&A with a past awardee, Daniela Ovalar. She is a member of the class of 2025 and also a criminal justice major with a minor in psychology. She's a student currently in the Honors College at Rutgers, Newark. Over her internship placement, she was at the U.S. Marshals Service over the summer, which is really different and not something that we've previously had as an internship placement. And some of her professional goals is she's hoping to secure a placement in the federal government agency as a special agent or deputy. And she's very involved on the Rutgers Newark campus and in her community as well. So she's the secretary of the Criminal Justice Club, marketing chair of the Honors College Student Council. She's a Scarlet Ambassador, and she's also volunteering at home. So we're going to do a brief Q&A with her, and she'll be able to answer some other questions about what it's like actually being a member of the award program. Okay. And if you have other questions, feel free to let us know. And feel free to drop them in the chat into the Q&A. Hi, Daniela. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. It's great to have you here. I'm so glad that you're able to participate in this. So we have some students that are interested in applying for the award program. And they want to just learn, I think it's a benefit to hear from an actual student what it was like actually being an intern in DC over the summer. So my first question is like, why did you want to intern in DC over the summer specifically?
Yeah, so like you mentioned earlier, my career goal is to be a special agent or a deputy. So I know like DC is just filled with federal government agencies. So I knew that I wanted to secure an internship specifically within the federal government. And what is more beneficial than going to DC and actually experiencing that? So yeah, that was kind of my main goal. I've been to DC a couple of times, but to actually live there and obtain an internship and kind of see what life is like on a daily basis kind of gives me an insight as to, when I secure a job, like maybe DC could be the place that I could live at.
And I think you're right. It was interesting. Many students that are in this award program have never been to DC before, or they've only been to DC once or twice as a student. So I think that's an interesting thing about the students that are often awardees in this program. Many of them have not had DC internships, so this may be their first time. Um, but how did you go about like securing an internship in DC compared to one in New Jersey? Because you did do a few in New Jersey beforehand, but how did you go about your internship search?
So honestly, Mine was just kind of mine was pretty simple, which is I was lucky enough. I just searched up any like federal government agency internships that are being offered. I know that not only did I apply to U.S. Marshals, but I also applied to DEA. So basically, like if you just search up any federal agency internships or kind of go onto the federal website, they normally have like an internship tab or like volunteer tab. And that pretty much gives a rundown into their internship program, and they kind of explain a step by step to apply, or they normally have like an email there that you can reach out to and show your interest in doing an internship with them and kind of what are the next steps forward that you can do. Um, so that's pretty much what I did with US Marshals. They had like an internship volunteer tab. I read into it, and I kind of emailed the general email that was there. I sent my cover letter and my resume, and then one thing led to next. I was emailed to do an interview, and then directly after the interview, like 10 minutes later, they were like, "Congratulations!" So it worked out in my favor, but Yeah, if honestly, it just takes a little bit of searching to do and kind of a deep dive into their wherever you're interested, or if you're interested in a specific organization, to look more in depth into their website platform.
Did you, how long did over like, was it a period of weeks that it took you to find an internship, or was it like a really quick process? We hear from some students that they're searching for internships for like months and everything. Or did you feel like as long as you were staying on top of your applications, you were getting interviews?
Um, I think it just depended on the agency. So for example, like DEA took a lot longer in when it came to like responses and just like getting back and all the sorts of things. But with like US Marshals, as soon as I emailed them, I've gotten a response like really quick, if not a couple days within like that week. And then you set up your interview based on your availability. And then, like I said, they know when they want someone. Um, Based off a couple minutes of just having a conversation. So I didn't have to wait for my acceptance. I got it 10 minutes after that interview. So frankly, it just went faster with the US Marshals. DA was just kind of a little bit slow on that end. Um, and then I did have an internship with ATF in New Jersey prior. So if everything like crashed down, I was going to resort to doing ATF again, but in the DC region to see if they kind of operate differently. Um, so I kind of had a little bit of a fallback, but that's just kind of how it worked out for me.
Now, a lot of the times we are bringing students to DC who may have already done a New Jersey-based internship, maybe either at, their representative's office or a state legislative office, or as you did at ATF based in New Jersey. How did your internship in DC compare to your New Jersey internship? It could be positively, it could be negatively, but what's really the difference you think between a DC-based internship and a New Jersey-based internship?
Yeah, so well, first, the obvious point is that it's in DC. So that's like the central of federal government. Anything like around the country of federal agencies report back to the DC headquarters or like the DC office. So um that's like the major difference between them and kind of just the way they operate, especially like this is a different federal internship that I had. So because it's a different agency, they kind of operate differently. They kind of focus more on different crimes and what they focus on. So I would say that's kind of the major difference. And just overall, the area that you're in depends on kind of like the work that you're going to be given. And I know like with US Marshals, not only did they were we like in an office-based setting, but because we're in like DC, there's so much to see that they wanted their interns to actually explore the region, and we went on various field trips to like certain like Supreme Court or the District Court. We went to like the FBI Academy, DA Academy, even the DA like labs. Like they wanted to or they wanted us to get exposure to different things, not only just federal agency, but if people are interested in like court level or local, like they would show us that, which is not something that could be done being in Jersey, obviously. So I think that was definitely an advantage and beneficial.
Yeah. And I also think the networking opportunities are very different in DC compared to New Jersey. So you might be networking and working with people from all over the country.
Yeah.
So especially like students as well, like especially when you're doing an agency-based internship, you may be working with students from California, from Alaska, Hawaii, anywhere in the country. And that could be a benefit as well, where you can learn about different learning styles and how to work with people from a lot of different backgrounds and different circumstances. Um, Two, I have one question that came into the Q&A. So just to reiterate, the award program is for up to $6,000 if it's a paid internship and $4,500 if it's unpaid. Did you feel like the $6,000 was enough for your time in DC? And did you need to use any personal money during your time there? So that's for you, Daniela.
Yeah. So I think that would depend on like where you're going to be living.
Hmm.
Um, for me, I didn't live in like an apartment setting. It's more of a place like that people were kind of like renting out their area. So if we're talking like realistic money wise, um, I stayed in like Virginia for 2 months. So I believe they charged me like around like 2,500 or so, or somewhere around that range. So it was, or 1,800, my bad. Um, so with that, like, not only did I have like the award money, but my parents also did kind of implement their own money when it came to groceries and such things. But that's just like to each their own. My parents just wanted to help out. So they put in money for the bus fare as well as groceries every week. Um, and then I pretty much just used the money for the rent for the most part, and anything I didn't use obviously was just pocketed for me. Um, I can say that 6,000 is enough. I think like if you get help with it, I don't know like people that didn't get any other or use their own money in a way, if it was enough. I would like to believe so. But yeah, that was just based off of my experience.
Yeah. And the award program used to be $5,000, but we have increased it as of last year because of inflation. And we recognize how expensive it is in Washington, D.C. The reason why the award amount is reduced for people who have paid internships is because some paid internships, you will get an additional $5,000 for the summer. And this is for us to be able to make an equitable playing field for students, because we don't want some students receiving $10,000 for their summer and some of them only receiving six. So even if they get a paid internship, it kind of evens everybody out and everyone's kind of on a level playing field. Generally, the $6,000 enough. But I think, Danielle, I think you make a good point. It depends, number one, on where you're living, and how expensive your living situation is. It also depends on how you're budgeting. So one thing I will tell for students that are applying, this is a great way to learn some budgeting skills. Like how much money do you actually need per month to use Metro service for clothing, for food, for your rent? So it also depends on how well you're doing the budgeting. And that's a great personal skill as well. Maybe you can't go out every single night of the week. There is a lot of free receptions in Washington, D.C., which I think makes a big difference as well. But any tips do you have on the housing? So, as you know, the award program does not include housing. How did you go about finding housing for the summer?
Housing was stressful, I will not lie. Um, like I knew, or I was trying to get ahead of the game and I was trying to find housing way earlier, but then I still ended up in the predicament of getting housing like last minute. I actually secured a place a week before my deciding date to intern with the US Marshals. So again, I got really lucky. But my advice is to start early. Like even when you're going through this process, like and you're not sure if you're gonna be accepted or not, like you might as well just start like looking to get ahead of the game and to kind of just already start seeing like how much places would cost. Because in all honesty, it is a little bit difficult. I don't know, like DC wise, I think, or Washington wise, because I think maybe it's similar. But when I was looking at areas in Virginia, it's a little bit difficult to find like 2 or 3 month leases sometimes. That's why I kind of resorted more to a place where people are actually renting out their areas for that summer. Um, and again, like I still have those people's like contact information. So anyone who's looking or anyone who wants to talk further, I can definitely like provide that for you guys. Um, but yeah, I would just say to start really early. Kind of open a Google Docs and write, like financial things, any personal things, or kind of doing a pros and cons list as to what you want to be included, what you don't want, things like that. So
That's a great tip. And then I guess any other overall tips, advice that you have for applying for the award program itself. It could be about the application, it could be about interning in DC. Any advice you want to give to potential applicants?
yeah, I mean, again, if you like don't, or I don't know how to put it into words, but be confident within yourself. You know, be or show that you're really passionate about going into DC, based on your career goals. Um And yeah, like show that through your application, through your like personal statement. If you get to the interview portion, just put yourself out there, lay everything on the table. Um, and yeah, that's all I guess I could say. I wish everybody luck on it. It's definitely a great opportunity. I talk about it all the time, so
He's one of our best, what's it called? Our best representatives. Thank you
yeah.
so much, Daniela. Would you be comfortable if I shared your email in case we have people that want to ask like further questions or any other experiences, or are you okay with that?
Yeah, definitely go for it.
Okay,
Definitely
great.
open to anything.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. It was great
Of
seeing you.
course. Yeah, you
Okay.
too.
Thank you to Daniela. That was great. And if you have other questions, I'll be sure to, after this meeting and everything, I'll also send out her email. So if you have questions for her, feel free. We have the Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A. I'm going to go through some now that we've received. But if you have questions, please add them to the Q&A feature. I did answer one, can freshmen apply for this award? Yes, this award program is open to first-year students. So if you're looking to go to DC right away, feel free to apply for this award program. I see a question here about applying for Scarlet Service Program and the Eagleton Award. So you cannot be a member of the Rutgers Scarlet Service Program and the Rutgers-Eagleton Washington Internship Award Program. You'd have to either choose one or the other. Um, One of the benefits is that the applications for the Rutgers-Eagleton Washington Internship Award, those have already passed. Excuse me, the Rutgers Scarlet Service in DC program, those applications have passed. So if you were to be accepted into that program, you would have needed to, you will know by January and you will accept by January. Um, and then they have their own like program requirements as well. Additionally, we can't have students double dipping from each program. So you would need to either choose the Rutgers-Eagleton and decide if that's the right program for you or the Scarlet Service program. And I would just encourage you to really weigh your options. Scarlet Service does have the class requirement. They have the housing. They have the class as well. So look at what maybe you want to take a class. Maybe you're looking to do something a little bit more. Maybe you're looking to be a part of a larger cohort. That's something that you should consider. Or if you're looking for a little bit more flexibility, maybe our program is right for you as well. So just feel free to weigh the best options. Um, I see a question in here, and it must be a first year that's asking this. Is it likely that a freshman to apply will be selected? It depends. It just depends on a lot of it really depends on your application. So feel free to really encourage either a family member, a friend, somebody that you trust to really review your application. Things that we look for in the qualified and past awardees are people that have had previous internship experience. I think that makes a big difference because going to DC is kind of like the big leagues. So we want to be able to send students who are really sure of themselves. They're confident and they're able to go and succeed in that type of professional environment. So I don't think it's unlikely that a first year will get it. I think it just depends on who the first year student is. So feel free to apply anyway. Shoot your shot. What's called, you never know. If you have other questions, feel free to reach out to me. Um, so we have that. And then I see a question here about Annapolis. Would an internship in Annapolis, Maryland for the governor's office of that state be considered for this award program? We would have to see, one is like, how relevant is it to Washington, D.C.? Because we really are looking to support students who are going to be in like a Capitol Hill office, or they're going to be in a national advocacy organization's office. So it would really just depend on the applicant itself. So I can't make a quick determination right now. Um, any other questions? Feel free to add them to the Q&A. We're answering them now. And I think you're right that Scarlet Service, the application period did pass. Um, any other questions in the Q&A? Feel free to drop them in. And if not, you can also send them to me as well separately if it's maybe a more specific inquiry. But I'll pause and wait a minute to see if people have other questions that they would like to add into the Q&A. Anything. It could be about living expenses. It could be about tips for applying. As I mentioned, we take 8 students over the summer. So students from Rutgers Newark, Rutgers Camden. decisions. When are decisions expected to be released after the due date? So the application period ends on February 7th, and most likely we will have decisions by the week of February 20th. So we do take a period of time for our selection committee to really review the applications. But sometime the week of February 20th, you will get your award decision, and that'll come to the email that you apply with. Um, as Daniela mentioned, we do have a bit of an interview process as well. So all students that are kind of finalists for the award program will be interviewed. It's about 15 minutes. One thing I will say is if you do get selected for an interview, make the time to get to the interview because typically we do these in a very short period of time. So just make sure that you're able to attend, you're able to find a time that works, because that also is important to show. It's also important to show like you're with it, you're willing to make the time to be a part of this. And if you have questions, just let us know. Okay, I did get another question. I'm reading this through. Oh, this is a good question. So if I apply, get accepted, and can't accept it because of other summer internships, can I still apply the year after? Would it be considered irresponsible if I get it and don't accept it? Oh, that's a good question. So, first part of the question, yes, you can reapply if you're unable to do the internship this summer. So, let's just say circumstances change and you're unable to go. Yes, you can reapply next year. Is it irresponsible? It's up to you. Everybody's circumstance is different. We have had students over the years who have been unable to accept the award for a variety of different reasons. Sometimes a family member gets sick. Sometimes they may get an amazing internship opportunity or study abroad opportunity for the summer that they decide to take instead. So I don't think it's irresponsible. I think just weigh the options and weigh like what your considerations are. I do think it's wrong. I do think it's irresponsible if you're uncommunicative. So if you are struggling with an internship search, or if your circumstances change and you don't let anybody know, that's irresponsible. And that probably will impact your chances of getting the award for the following year. So if you're not going to take the award, just communicate that. I think that's a good policy for anything that people are applying for. Um, you know, your interactions with the selection committee member, that will impact like future applications potentially. Anything else? If not, we will wrap up. Okay, one last question. How likely is it for someone to be accepted if they have no prior internship experience due to working most of college? That depends. So often the students that are in the internship who do receive the internship award have some previous internship experience. Reason for that is we know that this student will be a good representative in DC, that they know how to behave in a professional environment. They have research skills. I don't think it's a requirement though that somebody who may have worked all through college, maybe they did research on the side. Um, I don't think that will I don't think that's a consequence for them. I think as long as you can show that despite working most of college, that you were gaining skills and that this will impact you, I think that's a stronger, I think that sells your application a little bit better and makes you a stronger applicant. So we don't penalize people if they don't have any internship experience. We want to support those students and we want to give them the chance to get the professional experience. So as long as you're able to, though, appropriately like describe that in your cover letter, excuse me, in your writing sample, I think that's actually a benefit for you as well. Okay, if there's no other questions, I'm going to just do a quick wrap up of, so for this. Okay. Okay. So if you have any, thank you so much for attending our webinar tonight. If you have any more specific inquiries, you can feel free to send me an email at jronan@eagleton.rutgers.edu and I'll be sure to answer it. And just to go over, the application deadline is going to be Friday, February 7th at 5 p.m. As I mentioned, late applications will not be reviewed most likely. So please get your applications in early, and make sure that your letters of recommendations are also sent in on time. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can also go to the QR code and directly apply. So if you've been expired today, if you're ready to go to DC, please feel free to apply. And thank you so much for taking the time to participate in our first virtual information session. This is the first time we've done this. I hope it's been really helpful for you, and I hope to see your applications in the next few months. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.